Hello everyone! If you guys are new to this channel, I'm Izzy. I like to do hauls, story times, and everything in between. I wanted today's video to be more chatty, so I decided to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot recently, and that is body image. I personally struggled a lot with body image, and I still do to this day. This is definitely a more personal and a more serious type of video, so if you're not feeling that right now, you can go check out my other videos, check out someone else's videos, just click off the internet entirely, because I don't want this to affect you negatively or bring up any negative experiences you might have had. I don't want to put anyone in a bad mood over this video, so if you're personally not ready to watch it, I suggest just clicking out. With that being said, I'll get into the video now. So as I said before, I've struggled a lot with body image throughout the years. I have some really big insecurities and also some smaller ones that I don't mind as much. So for example, some of my smaller insecurities are like how my ears and my nose look. I'm not too crazy about them, but I can deal with them. But then on the other hand, I have some pretty deep set insecurities that have stayed with me throughout middle school, high school, and beyond. The biggest one out of all of those is how skinny I am and how I don't really have much curves going on. So I have a very slim frame, very small boobs, very small butt, not much curves to speak of. I didn't really care about this until my classmates started going through puberty. I was actually a really late bloomer. I got my first period when I was 15, which is pretty late compared to everyone else I knew at the time. And I also have really small titties. Being skinny and having really small boobs runs in my family, so it was pretty much expected that I would also look like that. But nevertheless, it made me feel really insecure because no one looked like that at my school. The only people I had seen at that time that had similar body types to me were my relatives. And honestly, I wasn't comfortable talking about puberty and stuff to them, because if you're in an Asian family, you know that there's this whole stigma around talking about stuff like that, which is a whole other topic that I could honestly make an entire video about as well. But yeah, that's not the point of this video. I went to a pretty small middle school, so in a way I guess it was easier to compare myself to others, because at that time I'd been seeing the same 20 to 30 people throughout my school years. So I was the absolute last person in my school to grow boobs, and even then people would laugh about how flat I was. When girls go through puberty, we tend to compare our progress to others, and since my progress was considerably behind everyone else's, I felt like I was lacking, like I had to catch up. My entire time in middle school, I was wondering why I wasn't growing at the same rate as everyone else, because it seemed like I was so far behind everyone. It didn't really help that some of the other girls were pointed out too. So in turn, that made me feel really insecure about myself, and I started to think that I was abnormal, like I wasn't developing properly. See, the thing I failed to realize at that time is that people go through puberty at different rates, and that's just how it is. I do understand why I thought I was abnormal, because when everyone else is ahead of you in that sense, it makes you feel like you're so different. Since I was still in middle school and I guess I had some sort of chance of growing throughout high school, I kinda held on to that hope that I'd magically wake up and have boobs all of a sudden. But as you can tell, that didn't happen. Since people would constantly point out the fact that I was less developed than everyone else back in middle school, it got into my head to the point that I ended up taking that mindset with me throughout high school. So then in high school, I continued to compare myself to others, which only exacerbated the problems that I had about my self-image. Just to give you some kind of basis on how skinny I was, I couldn't fit into women's size clothing until I was like 17 or 18. Obviously, that made me feel really bad as well, because I wanted to be able to dress like everyone else. But I was stuck wearing kids' clothes for a good amount of that time. I'd get comments that I looked younger than my age, and people would attribute that to the fact that I was really skinny and just underdeveloped. Obviously, that frustrated me, because as I grew older, I wanted people to recognize me for the age that I am and not someone younger. I tried just about every single thing to make my boobs look bigger. I tried push-up bras, contouring, those little chicken fillet bra inserts. I also began to start wanting breast implants around that time, and I still do think about it now. It's not completely gone from my head, but I feel like I do think about it way less now. Before, it would be like an everyday thing for me, and it was honestly so terrible. I even saved up a whole bunch of money just for that. That's how bad that was. Also, since I was in high school, people were starting to like get boyfriends and have sex and stuff, and I thought that I was not attractive enough to be with. I thought it wasn't attractive enough to date or do anything with because of how my body looked. It's really frustrating when people make judgments about you based on your appearance, but it seems to happen to many people, as I and probably a lot of you guys watching right now have experienced throughout your life. In every school I attended, especially in high school, I was surrounded by a very diverse community, and I genuinely thought that everyone was beautiful in their own right except for myself. I could never apply that same concept of beauty to myself, and I think it had to do a lot with who I was surrounded with at the time. Throughout the first half of high school, I didn't really have like a solid friend group or anything like that, and I was also in a pretty bad relationship. My boyfriend at the time didn't really help with my body image issues. He would blatantly look at other girls' bodies and compare them to mine. And what's even worse is that he focused specifically on the parts that I was especially conscious about. So for example, he'd be like, oh, this girl has nice boobs, and oh, this other girl has a nice ass. It's basically a continuation of what I'd heard throughout middle school, but worse. I stayed in that relationship way longer than I wanted to, but I eventually did break up with him, which is all good. And I also found some really good friends that listened to my insecurities and helped me with them. I still keep in contact with them even though we're all in different colleges and we don't see each other daily. I'm really grateful for everything that they've done for me, and I really cherish their friendships. So I'd say that my body image did improve a lot after I left my ex and also found some good friends. I feel like that just goes to show how important it is to surround yourself with the right people. So then we get to college, which is where I'm at right now. From my experience, people have not judged my appearance in college nearly as much as people did in middle school and high school, which is a good thing. I feel like it has a lot to do with the fact that people are just more mature in college in general, and that we have bigger things to worry about. I've also found another set of super supportive and lovely people in college. So in general, I am doing much better and I'm in a better environment now, but there are definitely still some times where I revert back to the way that I thought back then. I definitely see that I've made so much progress from where I've started, but that doesn't mean that my journey is over. I still have a long way to go because my body image still fluctuates from time to time. Especially with quarantine, I feel like it's gotten stronger since I'm kind of just alone in my room all day letting my thoughts wander. My personal goal for myself is that I want to slowly minimize my insecurities. I've been able to do that for some of my smaller insecurities already, but it's been hard tackling the bigger ones. One of the biggest things that motivates me to improve myself is that I really don't want to go back to the way that I was feeling back in middle school and high school. I feel like I can't express in words how much I hated my appearance back then. That's really no way to live, hating your appearance as much as I did. Another big thing I've learned throughout all my experiences is that the people that make fun of you just want to put you down and make themselves feel better. I feel like it's a really cliche thing to say, but honestly, it's so true. And the last thing I want to say is that you should know your own worth. Don't put up with people that are toxic for you, because that'll just make you feel worse about yourself. And it's okay to have your off days and to feel shit about your body sometimes. Even now, there are still days where I think my boobs and my butt are flatter than the sidewalk outside. But don't let it control your life, because that's when it becomes a super unhealthy obsession. I can guarantee you that you're worth so much more than you give yourself credit for, and it's very important to realize that. Like, you are beautiful, handsome, gorgeous, attractive, all of that, okay? So don't ever think anything else. And with that, that is the end of the video. I really hope you guys took something away from this. Let me know if you want to see more personal videos like this. I'm so down to do more of these because this is honestly a pretty eye-opening experience for me. It helped me realize a lot of things about myself that I didn't really think about until now. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.